The reason we'd love for you to sign up for the mailing list is that way we can tell you in advance who the weekly guest is. So if you have questions, you can get them to us in plenty of time so that you can ask them. Also, if you happen to live in the Los Angeles area or are willing to travel to Los Angeles, on Sunday, November 2nd, we have Healthy Taste of LA #5. It's our 12th event and our 5th one in Los Angeles. It's taking place at Torrance Memorial Hospital with our keynote speaker, the fabulous Dr. John McDougall, who rocked the house at Healthy Taste of Sacramento last Sunday. We also have some other terrific speakers like Dr. Pam Popper of the Wellness Forum, Howard Lyman, Dr. Ellsworth Wareham, who's a 100-year-old heart surgeon from Loma Linda, who's probably done more open heart surgeries than anybody in the world. He was interviewed by Oprah, and he said that if everybody ate the way we eat, he'd probably have 90% of the surgeries would have been unnecessary. And we also have a bunch of celebrity chefs doing demos. Chef Del Sroof of the best-selling Forks Over Knives cookbook, Chef Ramses Bravo of True North Health, Chef Eric Lechasseur, a celebrity chef in Los Angeles, and there's actually going to be a little vegan Iron Chef competition. So tickets are at a discounted rate until September 1st, so please consider joining us. So now, the moment you've all been waiting for, I'm so excited to introduce our next guest. I first heard about him from the Star McDougall emails that I get being signed up for Dr. McDougall's website. And I was really impressed that in just in a couple months, he's gotten more fame than than you can imagine. He's been on CNN, HLN, the Daily Mail. The McDougall article really impressed me because he had mentioned me as someone who actually helped him eat this way, and he had liked my recipe. So, of course, I wanted to meet him. And even before I could contact him, he somehow got a hold of me. So I've only really talked to him a couple times on the phone just for a few minutes here and there because I really wanted to learn about him as you guys learned about him, too. So please welcome Star McDougall, Benji Kurtz. Hi, Benji.
Hello, and thanks for inviting me. I appreciate it. It's an honor to join you tonight.
Well, it's my pleasure. Well, first of all, your story is just so inspiring anyway, but it was especially inspiring to me because having struggled with, the battle of the bulge my whole life, the fact that you lost more weight than I even weigh now is incredible to me.
Well, I appreciate that. It's been a real journey the last 15 months or so, for sure.
So tell us, okay, you're 37, right? 37 years old?
I'm 37, be 38 at the end of November.
Okay. And were you overweight, or is this a struggle you had your whole life?
Yes, definitely. Starting in school, for sure.
So about how old were you when you first realized you were overweight?
Oh, I would say either elementary or middle school.
So pretty young. So it's been a lifelong battle. And
yeah.
And what I read is you've lost weight several times, 30, 40 pounds here or there, doing some kind of low carb variation, but it always came back.
It did, and it started with, I did Weight Watchers in high school or college. I did Jenny Craig while at college. Then once I started doing more reading, I read South Beach, I read Atkins, and tried different variations as an adult, mostly the low carb, and it would sort of yo-yo up and down 30 or 40 pounds, and when I would balloon up to a certain point, I knew, well, it must be time to lose the weight again. It's time to go back to low carb, and it was meat and vegetables and no starches whatsoever, and the 30 or 40 pounds would come off, and then I'd be great, and of course, and then I would stop at a certain point, and the low point would usually be somewhere between 200 to between 200 and 220, and I'd be happy enough with that because when you eat low carb for a long time, as those of us who have tried it know, you can't do that for very long because you're making yourself sick.
Right.
And when you go into ketosis like that, making your body sick by the complete lack of carbs, which is necessary for our brains to work, the body is going to force you to stop no matter how much willpower you have, and I think I have a pretty good bit.
Right.
At a certain point, your body's going to say stop. And so at that point, the weight would come back on, I'd balloon up, and we'd start the whole thing over again year after year.
So in other words, these diets that you were on before were not sustainable.
No, they weren't for me. Weight Watchers and Jenny Craig, to me, is the secret of their success is portion control. But the food that they're serving is not particularly healthy, and I know that Weight Watchers has evolved over the years to the points and the this, and they're encouraging people to eat real food, but at the same time there are still these packaged processed meals in the freezer, and the secret of them is that they're not very big portions. So You can go have your frozen Salisbury steak and processed mashed potatoes, but it's not real food.
Yeah, well, what I love about the way we eat is that the portion is as much as we want whenever we want, as long as we're eating the right foods.
Absolutely.
And that's to me. Were you satisfied on these low carb or Weight Watcher Jenny Craig type? Were you satisfied with the food?
I think on the low carb diets, I think I felt satiated, so I didn't feel hungry. I don't know if that I'd say I was satisfied, because you're making yourself sick.
Right.
And any time that you're purposely putting yourself into ketosis. I remember going to the drugstore once and buying the little ketosis strips that they make for, I guess it's diabetics.
Right.
And I remember getting that and peeing on these ketosis strips. And the goal was to be in ketosis, which is the opposite goal of what those things are made for in the first place. But it just didn't click in my head, hey, maybe there's something wrong that I'm buying a product made for diabetics, as a goal, I'm trying to put my body in ketosis so that it starts to burn fat instead of carbohydrates. It's ridiculous in hindsight, but it wasn't then.
Right, and so many people are doing it and are still doing it and still believing that this is the only way to lose weight, and it's not healthy, and I don't see how in the long run it could ever be satisfying. I mean, a life without potatoes, rice, beans, and fruit, I can't even imagine.
Agreed. I agree.
So you're not a super tall guy. I bring that up because you I believe you're 5'5" tall.
I am. I'm 5'5", between 5'4" and 5'5".
Right, and so at one point I believe you weighed 278 pounds.
278 was my highest recorded weight. Yeah.
Wow. And what are you now? About 130, 135?
Today I am 132.
Wow.
And I'm 2 or 3 pounds away from a couple of exciting goals that I may or may not hit. Where my wife and I are about to go on vacation, so it very well may be after vacation that it happens. But in 3 pounds, I will have lost half of my body weight since starting last year.
Wow.
50%. And then when I hit when I hit 128, which is 4 pounds, I will have lost 150 pounds from my highest ever recorded weight, which I'm pretty excited about.
And then you're done.
And then I will be close to done, yeah.
Right, close to done. What do you mean close to done?
Maybe a couple pounds here or there. But, certainly there will be no more momentous milestones of the 50-pound notch variety. No, 150 would be the end of that.
Wow, so you really have lost an entire person.
I have.
Favorite things, I've read all the articles multiple times, but one of my favorite things is when you said that how you love, being able to go into a store now to buy skinny clothes.
I do. In fact, today, in anticipation of our trip, we, my wife Claire and I, on our anniversary, we go to a really nice restaurant. Every year we go to Orlando. We're big Disney people, and we go to a very upscale restaurant, a coat and tie kind of place. And the last time I bought a suit, it was a 42 or a 44 suit, and of course that's comical to put on now. So I went a couple weeks ago and got a suit, and we actually picked it up from the tailor today because they needed to take the sleeves up because I'm so short, and it's a 34 short suit, and it's a slim cut, which is the smallest suit you're going to find in a men's store. So it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, don't lose any more weight, or you may have to start shopping in the young man's department.
I know.
My favorite picture, and I encourage everyone listening to look up all these different articles they have on Benji at CNN and HLN and the Daily Mail and the Star McDougall, but all the pictures are great. But my favorite one is the one where you're standing in a pair of the pants you used to wear, holding it out with one hand as if there could be another person that could now fit in the other leg.
That seems to be everyone's favorite picture. That's the picture that seems to have gotten everyone. Gotten the excitement level up. That was the photo that I think got Dr. McDougall really pumped up about my story, and when he asked me to be Star McDougall, and it was definitely the picture that CNN.com wanted to highlight.
Now, how did you get all this press on CNN and HLN? Did they find you, or this is incredible the amount of publicity you've had in such a short time.
Well, it started, as you say, with Dr. McDougall, and I reached out to him several times from when the journey started. I was reading the discussion boards, which are an invaluable resource, by the way, to anyone that is on a similar journey and has questions.
And they're free. Tell everybody about them.
Totally free, and those discussion boards are in what are there, 10 or 12 different sections of the groups or of different boards, full of experts, doctors, fellow journeymen and women that are doing the same thing. Jeff Novick has a board there who is a nutritionist that I'm a huge fan of. Very helpful boards. And so I had read on those boards that Dr. McDougall actually answers email and does so promptly, which was surprising.
Mm-hmm.
And so I shot him a couple emails asking about, ideal BMI, what does he think what should be my goal. I had gotten some results back where my cholesterol was low, but not as low as I wanted, asked for some suggestions, and he was always very conversational, wrote me back, and was very nice. So I sort of stayed in touch with him, and when I hit the 100-pound mark, which is the photo with those giant jeans, I was in touch with him and just said I wanted to keep you up to date on where I was. I hit the 100-pound mark, and here's my latest blood work. What do you think? And he wrote back and said that he would like me to be a Star McDougall.
That is what an honor. This is just such a terrific. It's except for the fact that you're a guy, it really is a Cinderella story, because I'm so impressed with what you did, because if you look at the statistics on weight loss, they say that 98% of the people that lose weight will gain it back, 66% in the first year, and then the other 22% in the second year. So this is no small feat what you accomplished, and I think that's one of the reasons people are so interested in your story and so inspired by it, because you're a regular person, right? I mean, you're not a paid spokesperson for one of these companies, and the fact that so a guy in Atlanta could do it who's been overweight his whole life, I think it gives a lot of other people hope that they can do it too. And you didn't do something crazy. You didn't have gastric bypass. You basically did a whole food plant-based diet. You did the starch solution. You did what I did. You maybe eat a little bit more nuts than me, but for the most part, we're on the same page. We're on the same plan, and it works.
It does work, and I will say that although you and I don't think that there's anything crazy about it, I think unfortunately a majority of people who are eating the SAD diet, which is a standard American diet, probably do think that it's crazy. And I've gotten comments, the same comments that we all get, which of course is, where do you get your protein, which is immediately followed by, what about calcium?
Yeah.
And to a lot of people, the idea of completely eliminating all animal products is pretty crazy.
Wow.
But I think that there are so many of us, you and I included, who have experienced success following these very basic principles, which is basically that we're not here to eat animal products. Nope. We're not here to eat meat. We don't have talons. We don't have pointy teeth.
We have very, very long GI tracts as opposed to short ones that the carnivores have.
And we don't have, enzymes in our saliva that are meant to break down animal protein. Everything about us says that we're supposed to eat plants. And so I think those of us who are heeding that advice and changing our lives to do that are having great success. And there's no secret to it other than people say, "What's the secret? What's the secret?" And I said, "Well, I've changed to a very low fat." Whole food, plant-based diet. It's a vegan diet, and but it's not just a vegan diet. And when you mentioned Chef Del earlier, I would also like to say I think Chef Del's latest book that he wrote with Glenn Mercer, Better Than Vegan, is an outstanding example of really explaining what we do. And Better Than Vegan is really a phrase that explains what we do. It's not just vegan, because there are a lot of unhealthy fat vegans. I
was one of those for 50 years, so I hear you. Yeah.
There's plenty of junk food that you can subsist on, like Oreos and potato chips and French fries, that technically are vegan, and you will not be healthy. So, but yeah, just following the tenets of these doctors and pioneers that have told us all what to do. That's the only secret there is, was reading books and watching Forks Over Knives, and then actually doing what it says.
So would you say that watching the movie Forks Over Knives in the Memorial Day weekend of 2013, was that what really, when the light bulb went out for you, was that the defining moment?
That was it.
Because you obviously knew you were overweight. It's not like you just woke up. I would say nobody wakes up 278 pounds. It's like, it's took you a while to get there, and you had tried many times before with some limited success, always putting the weight back on. But other than seeing that movie, was there something that clicked inside your head that just said, you know what, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, and I'm going to just do this?
We watched the movie. We rented the movie Memorial Day weekend, and I didn't rent it looking for the great solution. I rented it only because I thought it looked interesting, and I've always enjoyed documentaries. I watch documentaries all the time.
Yeah, I love documentaries too.
And I truly wasn't going into it thinking, well, maybe this is it. Maybe this is the answer. I just sort of stumbled upon it, and I really feel like the solution just sort of found me.
Wow. Thank God.
And we watched the movie, and everything in there just made sense. The idea of, well, here's why we're not meant to eat animals. And the other thing, and I'm not sure that this has made any of the press that I have done in the last couple of months, but I had for the prior 2 or 3 years said several times, I really wish I could be a vegetarian because I love animals. I have no interest in eating them, but I just don't think there's anything for me to eat. If there was enough food for me to eat, I would like to try it.
Wow.
And once we decided to make this switch and at least try it for a month or two, I discovered an enormous amount of food and a variety of vegetables that I had never made their way into my mouth before. And I learned also that when you stop with the oil and the fried food and the processed stuff, your taste buds change, your palate changes, and all of a sudden things that used to be disgusting to me or that I thought were disgusting are delicious food.
Right,
you know?
and I bet you things that you used to think were delicious are now disgusting.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. I have no cravings whatsoever for any animal product whatsoever.
I love when you said, once you start eating this way, your palate totally changes. You are tasting food the way food was supposed to taste in the first place, like a film has been lifted off your taste buds. And I find that so true, especially with oil. All oil does is coat your tongue so that now you need a lot of salt and sugar to make this food taste somewhat decent. And the fact that you also are doing low or no salt, sugar, and oil is just I'm very impressed with that as well.
It's the only way to do it, and you know, I'm sure that you have cravings that your body tells you I must have blank now that I'm sure are different from before you started eating this way. I know that I did. I would have cravings. Well, now, honest to God, my number one craving is the meal that I had tonight, which is broccoli. I don't know what it is, but for me, it is broccoli all the way, and the flavors in your faux parm. It's like crack. It's like healthy crack. It's just and for those who don't know, I'm assuming you don't mind if I give out the 3 ingredients.
Absolutely, and just tell them they can get it free on my website as well, or in my book. But please give it out. Yeah.
It's so simple. It's almonds, nutritional yeast, and your choice of a salt substitute. And I happen to follow your recommendation and ordered a container of the Benson's Table Tasty.
I love Benson's Table Tasty.
It's bensonsgourmetseasonings.com, and it's also on Amazon. It's not in stores. It's a family-owned company in, I think, Nevada. And they have come up with a formula for a salt substitute that has no salt, but you wouldn't believe it. It's no salt, no sugar. It has no potassium chloride, no MSG. It's all herbs, nutritional yeast. I mean, that's pretty much it, I believe, is herbs, spices, and nutritional yeast. She
has a whole line of seasonings, but the Table Tasty, the original, is my favorite. And if you go to www.bensonsgourmetseasonings.com and you put Chef AJ in the box, she'll give you 10% off your order, and or she'll send you a free sample. So you can use my name carries a lot of weight, Benson's.
Of course, as it should. Yeah. But those are the 3 ingredients, and you throw them in the right. It's basically 2 to 1 almonds to nutritional yeast, and then you suggest a tablespoon. We do a tablespoon and a half of the Table Tasty. Throw it in the food processor. Go zip it for 5 seconds, 7 seconds, and that will last us a couple weeks, depending on how much we eat. But for me, broccoli with your nutritional yeast and another flavoring that I had never even heard of until you recommended it on one of your Chef and the Dietitian videos, which I love, that you did with Juliana Hever.
Thank you.
Is the coconut aminos, the raw coconut aminos, which there's only the one brand, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
And it is a way to get that soy sauce flavor with literally, is it a 7th or an 8th of the salt?
It's actually 1/24th the amount of sodium is in a teaspoon of salt. So a teaspoon of salt has about 2,300 milligrams of sodium. A teaspoon of raw coconut aminos has only 113 milligrams of sodium. So
and it's just delicious. Yep. It really is.
And it's soy-free. I'm allergic to soy, so that's good. It's gluten-free. It's wheat-free. The only thing it has in it does have some salt, and it's made from coconut sap. So I agree. That is my favorite of all those products.
So yeah, I mean that's sort of my that's my craving, and I'll tell you another thing that is great with the combination of Chef AJ faux parm and coconut aminos is popcorn.
Yeah, exactly.
Coconut aminos first, because
Yeah.
then the faux parm will stick to
Will
the popcorn.
stick. Air pop popcorn.
Oh boy, that is something else.
Before we get into what you're eating now, I'm just curious about a couple things. Did your wife join you in this journey?
Absolutely. My wife Claire has been on this journey from the beginning. She's had a large amount of success as well, and having each other to as a support system has absolutely been very important. This would have not been easy, or would not have been able to happen if we were not both on board.
Yeah,
sure.
that is so great, because I hear from so many people from what I call mixed marriages, where one spouse is doing this and the other one is resistant. And you're right, it's not that you can't do it, but it's much more difficult, and it's just so great when you have support.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you, another family member who is on this journey with us as well is my mom, who is listening on this call as well.
Hi, Benji's mom. You have a terrific son.
She has gone along with us as well and watched Forks Over Knives. In fact, I told her to watch the movie, and she watched it twice straight through. She watched it, and then she made my dad sit down and watched it a second time.
Wow.
And since she's been on the journey with us, she didn't have, I don't think that she had any weight to lose. Maybe she lost a few pounds here or there. But the most important thing, I think, is she has been able to get off of her cholesterol medicine completely.
Yeah, that's terrific. And it's not just about weight. In your case, you wanted to and needed to lose weight, but we're all on the same diet. Those of us that need to lose weight, those of us that don't, we all eat the same thing. I mean, it's
right.
I was just wondering, before we're being, it's a little bit different, I think, sometimes being a male that's overweight, being a female that's overweight. But did you have any problems with your weight? Like, were you teased about it? Did people make fun of you? Did you have any physical ailments because of it? Like, what was the impact of having almost 300 pounds on your small frame?
I was pretty fortunate, I think, in that I really didn't ever go through the teasing. If I do, I must have blocked it out. I really don't think that I did. I mean, obviously it was a spectacle and people would notice it, but people, for the most part, I think were very polite. I never had any serious health issues. I never had any shortness of breath. I've never had any diseases, knock on wood. And I was pretty fortunate. I think one of the reasons that I was able to stay relatively healthy as an obese person is I never smoked. I have never smoked anything in my life.
Great.
And I also don't drink. And if I do, it's maybe one or two drinks in a calendar year.
Well, it's so funny because this picture I'm looking at for CNN Health, it looks like you're at a restaurant, and that sure looks like a bottle of wine.
I know. That was at my cousin's wedding in New York, and there were definitely a lot of drinks on the table, and none of them were going into me. But you're right. That is ironic about that
Good
picture.
for you. We're like soulmates, because I know I don't smoke or drink either, and I think that's also really, really important habits to have, or should I say to not have. All the pictures are great. I really encourage people to look you up on all of them. What's interesting is you're 37, but in the pictures where you were quite overweight, you look older than 37. Mm-hmm. And in the pictures of you now, you look younger than 37.
Well, I'll take it.
Yeah, it's amazing. So just before we get into the questions and what you eat, that's a big one. It's funny because even though we only have 10 questions, these 10 questions were from hundreds of people writing in. And it's so interesting that everyone, pretty much groups of people, all had the same question. So that's kind of cool. But I want to know, what did you eat, other than the times that you were on these low-carb diets or Weight Watchers and Jenny Craig, what did a typical day's food look like for you before you started adopting this way of eating?
Well, I've never been a morning eater, and I still am not. So I never was really big into breakfast. If I was going to have something, it would just be a cereal. And it was never really sugary cereal. It was just cereal and probably a couple bowls. And usually my big meal was at dinner, and it was always too late. And I believe that the later you eat, the shorter the time between when you eat dinner and when you sleep. My experience has been my body reacts better the earlier I eat.
Yeah, you know what? We didn't used to have lights, and people used to, when the lights went, when it got dark, we'd go into our cave. And I think you're right. It's so much better to not eat right before bed, just in terms of how you feel and how you sleep.
Mm-hmm. But I would have a big meal. It was a big meal, and it was usually carb heavy and lots of white pasta. As far as the protein, it would typically be chicken or fish. I really wasn't eating beef for the last couple of years simply because I really had tried to limit my meat intake to chicken and poultry, chicken and fish, which of course we've all been told is quote unquote the healthy meat.
Yeah, right. I love when people say I'm vegetarian. I eat chicken and fish. Last time I checked, chicken and fish weren't actually vegetables.
No. If it had a mother or a face, don't eat it.
Exactly. You know what I find interesting, and some people may not be aware of this because they might have read one of your stories on CNN or a Daily Mail, but there's lots of comments underneath them. Mm-hmm. And some of them, to me, are so hurtful. How are you dealing with some of this negative feedback you're getting? I mean, to me, it's sour grapes. I think these people either have too much time on their hands and just feel horrible about themselves, but to be criticizing you I find it very hurtful, and I'm just wondering how you seem like you're in a good space about it,
I think I am. I think I have a decently thick skin. I mean, I'm not terribly thick skinned, but decent enough. And I think that the people who were making the ugly comments, I guess I expected it. And to be honest, I think I expected it to be a little bit worse. And here's why. I have found in the last year and a half that Dr. McDougall says that people love to hear good news about their bad habits.
Right.
And the flip side of liking to hear good news about their bad habits is they don't like to hear bad things about their bad habits. So if someone's coming along and saying, I'm eating broccoli spears and fruit and whole grains and I've lost all this weight and I think it's wrong to eat any animal products, you're going to bring out some really angry people, because I have learned that people are very defensive about what they eat, and I'm not really sure why that is, but they take it very personally if they think that you're criticizing what they eat or suggesting that what they're doing is wrong. And let's face it, this movement is suggesting that what the vast majority of Americans do is wrong.
Right.
And they get really upset about that. There also are, as you know, a couple of very public figures who have made a career of defending the whole low-carb diet and have even engaged some of the figures in our movement in debates.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a whole industry of the low-carb diet, the Atkins Foundation and all of these people who, this is money. And when you talk about money, there are huge industries, huge swaths of the food industry who want to make sure that what we do does not see the light of day. I mean, beef, pork, chicken, all the restaurants that serve this food, the dairy industry, the egg industry, these are all portions of the food industry which have an inordinate amount of money to spend marketing it. I mean, the reason that everyone thinks that we're supposed to get our protein from meat is because the meat industries have been hugely successful with great ad campaigns to make sure that we think that we're supposed to be eating meat for protein. And, Got Milk. Everybody has seen Got Milk. That's
exactly, because we all know that milk does a body good.
Of course. And who's to say, how dare you suggest that you can get more calcium from broccoli than you can from a nice tall glass of liquid meat or milk.
Right.
And there is not an asparagus industry or an asparagus lobby. There's not a broccoli association that's going to be able to rival that. So people get pretty upset. So there were some ugly comments.
But I mean,
some of them were funny.
Yeah,
some of them were just stupid.
Some of them, calling you saying you look like a Keebler elf. I felt like saying, well, probably because to get to 278 pounds, you ate a lot of Keebler cookies,
Right.
But I mean, it's just some of them was just name calling, and it's just people. I don't know. It bothers me because I feel like I've walked in your shoes before, because when I was overweight, I was getting comments on my Facebook page and my YouTube page saying, well, if the vegan diet's so great, why are you so fat? And then when I lost weight, I was still getting attacked. So it's kind of like you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't,
Yeah, agreed. Truly, it wasn't as bad as I thought. And what's interesting about the CNN.com article is that, and I think there's, 500 comments there, 800 comments? It's a lot.
It's a lot.
And the CNN Facebook page has even more than that. And what was interesting is, obviously I knew the day that they were going to run the article, and it went up at 6 or 6:30 in the morning, our time. And I watched the comments for a couple hours expecting the worst, and about 10:30, the woman that wrote the article called.
Wow.
And said, I don't know if you've seen this, but you're eliciting a strong response. I said, yes, I have. And she said, well, would you mind going to the article and go ahead and sign up for an account, and we'd really like it if you could respond and engage with some of these people. We find that if the subject actually engages and responds to these people directly, and make sure you keep a positive, friendly tone, that it will dull some of this down, and we don't want this to get out of control. And so I said, okay, fine. So I did that, and you'll see that I responded to.
No, I did, and you were so nice. That's what I couldn't have been as nice as you were with these people. I thought you were very nice.
I think part of that was I think just the way that I felt was the appropriate response after thinking about it for a few minutes, and the other part of it, honestly, is because they told me, listen, you can't engage these people and be negative, or it's just going to spiral down. So
yeah,
I didn't.
Exactly.
So that was interesting. And then the next day was when HLN, which of course is the sister network to CNN, called and said, boy, we're really seeing what's going on this article. Are you available to come in tomorrow?
Wow, that's
and
terrific.
I said, yes, I am. It happens to be about a mile from my house. I will be in CNN Center tomorrow at noon or whatever it was.
Well, congratulations. Hey, do you ever worry? Do you ever pinch yourself, saying, "Oh my God, I can't believe it. I'm half the man I used to be," or do you ever worry that you could gain it back because you had in other previous attempts?
I have not. It has not even crossed my mind that I'll be gaining it back. It's
Great.
Not going to happen. If I go up a pound or two, it's cause for modification of some sort. So I can assure you that if I correct a pound or two in one direction or another, I'm not going to wake up one day and have gained back 150 pounds. It's not going to happen.
I love that because it's kind of like a ship when they go off course. You do it when, if you do it when you're 1 or 2 pounds over, it's a lot easier than waiting till you've gained 30, 40, or 50 pounds.
Absolutely. And your first question was what again?
Oh, do you ever just pinch yourself and or look in the mirror and say, oh my God, I'm hot. I'm thin, because sometimes I can't believe it either. Like going into a store and getting a size 4. I was a 14 almost my whole life. And it's like, I always thought size 4 was like for dolls. I always thought, who wears these doll clothes? And I'm like,
right.
Oh, wow. To me, it's like, that's kind of fun,
I will say that I'm not fully used to it yet. I will sometimes surprise myself in the mirror. Because when you look at yourself from your eyeballs down, you're seeing something different than if you look in a mirror and you see what other people see straight on. We
don't really see ourselves in 3D.
No, we don't. So, I have definitely surprised myself. The other thing, and I will admit that I have done this a couple times, is, like you said, I'm wearing all small clothes, and most of them are small custom fit or tailored or slim fit, whatever they call it. And there are sometimes I'll put on a shirt and it's a little baggy or a little bit big, and I will check the tag and make sure that I really did put on a small shirt, because there's just no way from being in double X's a couple of years ago that is it possible that I'm wearing a small shirt that's a little baggy? And yeah, I have checked tags. Right. These are shirts that I have bought and brought home.
Now, have you gotten rid of all your clothes from when you were overweight?
Yes.
Good.
Yep. In fact, this week we got rid of the last batch, which was the mediums, and we've gone down successively each time. We got rid of the double X, and then we got rid of the XLs, and then I was in larges, got rid of those, and then the mediums, and now we're in small.
Hey, and now you can wear horizontal stripes. That was fun for me, buying 2 pieces with horizontal stripes. They always tell you when you're overweight, don't wear horizontal
That's
stripes.
Right. That was one of the – and what's so funny is the picture that you posted, which is a side-by-side, and the right-hand one is a picture of me at the beach in June, and I am wearing a horizontal striped shirt. That was a shirt that brought about one of the ugly comments on the CNN article, and it was like something like "lose the blue shirt" or something like that.
Yeah, that's what, and that was their take home, for
that was the take home and I wanted to say I'll be sure to pass your comments to Tommy Hilfiger next time he and I are together, because it's his shirt and I just bought it. So
people, it's like Jerry Seinfeld said, people.
Yes.
Yeah.
people.
So now I've got some questions from people that have written in advance, and the first one comes from Bethany in Washington. And every question these listeners are asking, I also want to know as well. They're great questions. Is did you exercise and how much? And then I'll add to it. And are you exercising now?
I do exercise regularly. When I was very large, I was walking. We live in Midtown Atlanta, and it's a wonderful area. And for a long time, I was doing about a 3-mile circuit walk, which would get me to sweat and was good exercise. I mean, it's nearly a 5K. Every day I was doing that, and it didn't make a tremendous amount of difference. And also I had problems with my feet. And what I was able to do was to become enamored with swimming again. I swam as a kid and loved it, and then once I really got fat, that was it. And so last year in July, I found a fitness center nearby that has an indoor pool, and the vibe was very much to my liking. They weren't muscle heads. It wasn't like an LA Fitness kind of place. It's in a hospital clinical atmosphere, and so it's mostly elderly people, very overweight people, no one of my age, and that was the perfect environment for me to get in the pool. So ever since then, I've been swimming either 6 or 7 days a week. Most times it's 7 days a week, but I do a very short routine. I go 550 meters, which is 11 laps. When I started, that took me a half hour. Now it takes me about 16, 17 minutes, and That's it. I get out of the pool and I come home. That's it.
Wow.
And the reason I keep it limited is I wanted to make sure it was short enough of a workout where I wasn't dreading going, because if I was going to dread going, I knew that I would stop going.
Got it. Yep.
And I felt pretty happy with the results. I'm happy with what I do, and I do all different strokes. I vary it, get all the muscle groups in, and since swimming is no impact, it doesn't affect the issue that I've had with my feet that happened when I was walking.
Wow.
And have had no injuries from the swimming, and I really enjoy it. So I can get there, do my 550 meters, shower, get out, drive back home, all within an hour. And I'm able to find an hour in every day to do that.
You and me are two peas in a pod, because even though I don't particularly love spinning, I chose it because I'm in and out. The class is 50 minutes, it's close, and like I say, in about an hour I'm home and I'm done,
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
It's funny because I did not exercise while I was losing weight. I had just come off a horrible knee accident. But I don't know if you're familiar with the National Weight Control Registry, if you've ever heard of them, because you're eligible to join now. It's an organization where the government, I believe it's the government, that tracks people that lost more than 30 pounds and have kept it off for at least 2 years, and that you have to prove documentation either by photos or a doctor's letter. And they're trying to study people that have lost weight and kept it off to see why these 2% of the people can do it. And one of the things I learned from, actually, the guy spoke at one of the McDougall weekends, I believe his name was James Hill, but one of the things that all the people that lost weight had in common, because people lost weight many different ways. Some lost it the sane way, like you and me, but other people did it by things like gastric bypass or low-carb diets or portion controls. But one of the things that all the people had in common that successfully kept weight off is that they all did include some kind of fitness in their routine. So in other words, I think it's completely possible to lose weight without exercise, but I do not believe it's possible to maintain it without any level of fitness.
I would agree with that. I would agree.
So that might be bad news for some people that hate to exercise, but for me, I look at it now. The more I exercise, the more I get to eat. So it's
I think it's also important to find an activity that you enjoy.
Yeah, exactly.
Walking is boring as hell, and especially when you're walking in a giant circle, you're not actually going anywhere. But maybe it's tennis or cycling or hiking, or there's so many things to do. And for me, it happens to be swimming. I find it relaxing. I've always enjoyed being in a pool, and everybody has their own thing. And
I think the best exercise is the one a person will actually do.
Absolutely. And for me, that's swimming for a short duration of time with a high frequency.
Good for you. Karen in California asks, if you could make 3 recommendations that have been the key to your weight loss success and keeping it off, what would they be?
3 key, what is it? 3 key?
If you could make 3 recommendations that have been the key to your weight loss success and keeping it off, what would those 3 recommendations be?
Wow. Do you have an answer to that for yours?
I'll start thinking about it. Maybe we could come back to it. It's a really good question, though. What was the key to my success? I think the word that's coming to my mind is diligence. That I don't think I'm an extraordinary human being. I'm just diligent. That I was consistent. I think being consistent was.
Yeah, agreed. I would say the first thing for me would probably be finding food or foods that are acceptable and fit the plan that you really, really enjoy and that you won't get sick of.
Yeah.
And that means eating a variety of things that you probably have never had before, which it did for me, and branching out, reading cookbooks, trying vegetables. I've put things in my mouth that I have never even thought to eat before, and a lot of them are really good. And by having that open mind, I'm discovering things that I know I can be my go-to food. So I think one of them is finding foods that are whole food, plant-based foods, or recipes or dishes that you really, truly enjoy a lot, that are not just acceptable, but they're delicious. That's number one.
Right, good one.
I think number two is when you fall off the wagon or you decide to spoil yourself or have a holiday treat or something like that, not non-vegan, but let's say you have something that does have oil or is fried or is not the healthiest thing to do, it is of pivotal importance to get back on that train immediately.
Immediately. That's what I always say. Not. Don't wait until January 2nd. Next
That's
meeting.
right. That's right. And I think that someone else had written in, and I'll go ahead and address this now, about do you ever splurge or do you ever let yourself have a treat? There was a question I saw that something to that effect, and the answer to that is yes. I do occasionally allow myself to have a meal that is not on the plan, but I plan for it, and I immediately get back on the train. So
good for you, yeah.
There are restaurants or there are dishes that are just so delicious, vegan, and they may be cooked with a little bit of oil. There's a Korean Mexican fusion place around the corner from us that makes a burrito with the tortilla is vegan, and it has rice and a Korean red sauce and tofu and spinach, and it is just absolutely to die for. And I know that when I eat it, I'm going to gain a half pound or a pound that day, and the tofu is cooked in oil, and it is ungodly good. And I'll have it once every couple months, maybe, but in order to do that, I have to budget for it, and not budget money, but budget it's like, look, I'm going to go have this meal, and I'm probably going to be a pound more tomorrow, and that's okay. And the next day, it's back to broccoli, baby, and
exactly. So
it comes right back off. And having had that, and maybe it's a vegan cupcake for a family birthday or something like that, which is full of earth balance and crap like that. But that's okay. I can have 2 bites of a cupcake. That's okay.
Right, but you're treating treats as treats.
That's right. It's not a food source. It is not a nourishment.
Right.
It's a treat. And I'm sure that this coming week when we're in Orlando, there will be some stuff made with oil, and there will be some stuff made with earth balance, and it will taste really good. And then I'm going to come home from that vacation and be right back on the train.
Right, and you're planning for it though, so it's not.
That's right.
Yeah, it's not okay. Excellent.
I don't know that I have it. Let's see. A third one, I guess, would be to find a support network.
Right.
And if it's not your spouse, or you're not married, or your spouse isn't on board, maybe it's finding a friend via a Facebook group, or the McDougall Friends Facebook group, which is a great support system for people that do what we do. Maybe it's another family member that you don't live with. And maybe it's just doing something like frequenting those McDougall discussion boards like we talked about. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of people on there, and if you post and say, I'm really needing some support, or I just can't seem to come up with a meal I like, you're going to be hit with about 35 or 40 responses in minutes. So I think the support system would probably be my third.
I agree. Support is so important, and since we all live in different time zones, if you're awake in the middle of the night, somebody somewhere is up. And you could go to Yahoo or Google. They have groups dedicated to this, meetups, so you can find support no matter where you live. I've been in towns lecturing as small as 1,500, and the support is there. You just have to seek it out.
Absolutely.
Okay, question 3. I'm not giving a name to this one because so many people ask this question. Do you still have cravings, and how do you manage them?
This has evolved over time. I would say that the first 6, 7, 8 months, I would have a craving for cheese. Cheese was Cheese was my drug.
Yep.
We used to have those Costco big jugs of aged Parmesan, and I would eat pinches of the Parmesan right out of the jug.
That's why you like the faux parm.
Yes, it is why I like the faux parm. But yeah, cheese was my thing, and I really did miss it. And we tried every fake vegan cheese there was, and none of them are very good. I think there are a couple brands that are better than others, but they don't really taste like cheese. They may melt like cheese, or they may taste like cheese, but they usually don't melt and taste like cheese.
You have to have one or the other.
Yeah, so I mean, there is no real substitute for cheese other than to learn about new flavors that you can use to enhance your food, and herbs and spices and other ways to make food taste delicious without that cheese.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as cravings go, there has not been a day that I wanted a dripping cheeseburger. There's not been a time that I wished that I had a rubbery chicken breast at a catering hall. Cheese I miss. But at this point, now that I'm 15 months in, there is not anything else that I'm craving. There truly isn't. The one exception I will say is, I think I said this on the HLN piece, is there are times where it's the experience that you miss more than the actual taste of the flesh of the animal, such as July 4th. It's nice to have. It's a nice memory to have something on the grill and have it on a bun with mustard and ketchup and tomatoes and onions. Well, I have found that on those special occasions, those are the times that I'll go get a plant burger out of the freezer case at Whole Foods and have it on the grill and have all the condiments on it and put it on a bun and make baked potato fries or something like that with it. And I have found that every bit of that experience that I was missing, it was the smell of the cookout and the condiments and having it on a bun and taking a big bite with lettuce and tomato and onion and everything like that. But it wasn't the actual texture or the taste of the meat.
Right.
And by substituting out a plant-based burger for a piece of cow, I got every bit of that experience, and I feel just as full and satiated with a plant burger July 4th cookout as I would have if I had a cheeseburger.
Right. Yeah, that's excellent. I love that. Condiments really are key, because very few people just eat boiled chicken, like you said. That's
right.
The salt and the oil and all those things they like. So Gail from Oxnard wants to know, how often do you weigh yourself?
Every day.
Yeah, me too. Now I do. When I was overweight, I don't think I ever weighed myself except when I went to the doctor.
When I was on a dieting phase, I've always been an everyday weigher. If I was not in a diet phase, it would probably be weeks.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I weigh myself every day. I do it. I always do it before I eat so that it's consistent. The time of day just sort of depends on when I'm planning to first eat for the day. But yeah, I do weigh myself every day, and I think if not every day, I think doing it semi-regularly is kind of important, because you want to know if you put on 5 pounds all of a sudden, that's a problem. You need to know.
Because then you can do something about it.
That's right. Yeah.
I agree. I know some of the people say, no, you shouldn't weigh yourself. But I think that when you've worked as hard as we have to get to this weight, that, you want to keep it. You don't want it to come back. And that's how else would you know?
Agreed. Well, I mean, you would know a little bit. At a certain point, when you've really done some damage, you'll know by the fit of your clothes.
That's true.
I'd rather know when it's a pound or two and reverse it instead of it being 10 pounds and then having several weeks' worth of work ahead of me.
Right. I agree with your philosophy. The next question is, what do you do? Well, I think that you kind of answered this, but what do you do to keep the weight from sneaking back on?
And the answer to that is keeping track on a very regular basis of where I stand. Yeah. And if I fall off the wagon, I won't say fall off the wagon. If I decide to or choose to have a meal that is not the best choice that I could have made, getting back on that train is the answer to that.
Do you write your food down at all? Do you ever keep a food journal?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't, but I definitely know that that's a very helpful tool for people, and I would encourage it. But it's not something that I have. That's not something I have done.
That's not something you found you needed to do.
I didn't know.
Sharon McCrae, who was on the call last week, and the recording is now available up on the website, from Columbia, Maryland, asks, how hard is it to maintain your weight loss and what technique do you use? So you kind of answered this in a bit, but
Well, I mean, I'm still I'm on final approach, as they say, to my destination, but I am still actively losing. I mean, I weigh 10 pounds less now than I did 10 or 15 pounds less than I did with in that striped shirt picture from June.
Wow.
So I'm not there yet. So I don't know that it's fair for me to actually say maintain, because I'm not in a maintenance place yet.
Wow.
I have some pretty good ideas of what I will do to shift from loss to maintenance, and I think that is being okay having some more starch. Starch for me, the days that I have more starch are days that I stay the same weight.
Mm-hmm.
Days that I have less starch, more vegetables, are days that I lose weight. So I mean, I think it's going to be being okay with having more starch, doing more potato waffles, and maybe even eating a little bit more. I mean, I don't usually eat. I don't eat till I'm stuffed anymore, and that's something that fat people do. You don't eat till you can't move.
Right.
You eat till your brain tells you that you're satiated and you're done.
Well, one of the questions from Sarah Jane said, did you employ portion control, and do you feel that that's important?
I'd say yes and no. Yes, in that when McDougall or any of the Esselstyn or any of our pioneers of this movement say eat freely, quote unquote, they're not telling you to eat a bucket full of broccoli. They're not saying eat 4 pounds in one sitting. That's insane. So portion control in that I'm eating what I believe would be a normal human portion of food, yeah. But am I having a teaspoonful of broccoli or a quarter of a potato? No, I'm having a potato. There has certainly been times that I've eaten an entire 16-ounce package of broccoli or kale or collards. When we make the Chef AJ red lentil chili, I've never been able to put away servings. And the video where you make it, you actually say that you and Charles will, I think you say, split up the recipe over 2 meals, so you have maybe a quarter of it.
3 meals. I honestly eat 3 cups of it over a potato. That's how much I eat.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I for whatever reason, I can't eat that much at this point or anymore. I physically wouldn't be able to do that. I'm good with less than that. But if I was still hungry, I will still eat, and there will be times that after dinner I'll have chunks of fruit. I may have some oats. I may have some sort of nut milk. So yeah, I mean, I eat until I'm satiated. I don't overdo it. I do take the eat freely thing seriously, but it's not ridiculous. I'm not having an inordinate amount of food.
Wow. Were you having an inordinate amount of food when you were heavier, or just completely eating the wrong foods?
I don't think I was completely eating the wrong foods, because I mean, I wasn't eating fried foods. I wasn't eating red meat. There's a lot of white pasta, a lot of processed stuff like that. I would certainly have lots of whey-filled weight loss shakes and stuff when I was in that mode. That's a wrong food.
Right.
But I think it was probably portions. Yeah, I mean, if we made some sort of pasta with a creamy Alfredo sauce or something and some grilled chicken, I would have what should have been 2 or 3 servings, because that's how hungry I was, because I really hadn't eaten a lot that day, and so I would gorge for dinner. But I mean, not the kind of portions you'd see on these TV shows. I mean, not like the 600-pound people where they're polishing off bags of Snickers. I was never like that.
Wow.
But I would certainly have a couple healthy adult portions for a meal, and I think that adds up over time.
It absolutely does. Absolutely does. I'm taking this permanent weight loss class with Dr. Pam Popper, and she had said that 5 cashews have 100 calories, and if you exceed your caloric intake by just 100 calories a day, even from a healthy source, that's 10 pounds in a year. And if you do that for many years, of course, it can really add up. Teresa from Ventura County wants to know, what has been your biggest hurdle? And maybe you didn't have it. It's okay if you didn't have one.
My biggest hurdle.
If you can come back to it. I can ask another question while you're thinking of that.
I can't really think. I'll be honest. I don't even know if I'd consider this a hurdle. Let's just say it was maybe a bump in the road.
Mm-hmm.
Would be being able to not convince but explain what Claire and I are doing to friends and family members who think that this concept is crazy. And
Right.
that could be friends, it could be members of the family who are just worried as can be. We're not getting our protein, we're
Right.
not getting our calcium. What about our bone strength?
Yep.
And when you do the research and educate yourself, those are not concerns. But if these are friends or family who refuse to read the book, watch the movie, see the YouTube lectures, and educate themselves, that's a challenge, because you don't want people who care about you to be concerned for under false pretenses. I mean, their concerns are well-founded, but they also happen to be completely wrong.
Yeah. It's
so
just
I think that's really the only thing I can think of.
It's so interesting, Benji. It's like when I was fat, I could be eating at McDonald's. I wasn't, but I could, and nobody would say anything. But now that I'm trim, everybody's worried about where I'm getting my omega-3 fatty acids.
That's right. That's right.
It's crazy. Would you think, or do you now, or were you ever an emotional eater, or was it really just in your case you were just eating too much of some of the wrong foods?
No, I don't. That was never something that was an issue for me.
Well, that's good. That's good. That's not something you have to attack. Couple of more questions. Let's see. Oh, do you allow you already kind of mentioned this, but do you allow yourself indulgences like nuts and avocados?
Yes. Well, nuts are something, avocados I don't like, so that's not a problem.
Wow.
But nuts, I do eat nuts every day, and I know that can be a trigger food for a lot of people. I know that you have said in videos that you had to cut out nuts because it's a trigger food for you.
But you can eat them. They're very healthy. Would you say you eat like an ounce or two a day, or you don't know?
I think it's probably a couple ounces for sure. Mm-hmm. And I sort of graze through the day. There's a Yiddish word, nosh, where you just sort of graze, and I nosh through the afternoon. And raw, unsalted cashews and almonds are two of the things that I graze on. Not a ton. I don't eat a half a bag. It's a handful.
Right.
And they're filling to me. You get the protein and the fat, and it satiates me, and I'm cool with that. I love cashews and almonds, and I do eat almonds. And I won't say that there hasn't been a pint of Soy Dream or the coconut ice cream or something that has made its way in our freezer. Occasionally, not a lot. Maybe 3 or 4 times in 15 months we've gotten a pint of that stuff. It's delicious, and I enjoy every bit of it. And when that pint is done, which is, by the way, the course of 5 or 6 sittings, I don't eat a pint at a time. That
I wouldn't be able to do. It's like I'm a pint or nothing girl,
Yeah, no, I limit myself. It'll be a couple tablespoons at a time and last for several days. But then once the pint's done, there's not a second pint, and it's the same philosophy we talked about.
Right.
If we get a pint of ice cream, that's not the new habit. That was the treat, and we'll see you again in a couple months.
Good for you. Gosh, you're just you're incredible. It's just such a pleasure talking to you. Now here, I saved this question for last because it was the most asked question. What does a typical day's worth of food look like for you?
What does a typical day's food look like for me? Well, as I said before, I'm not a morning eater. I eat when I'm hungry. And I don't get hungry until the afternoon, and typically it's after I swim.
Yeah.
So a typical day, I'd say, would be some nuts in the afternoon. I really enjoy. I love oats. So I'll have oats, and my favorite thing with oats is actually oat milk, which is made by Pacific. It's the only brand that makes it. It's a sweet. It's kind of grainy.
Yep.
But it's a sweet, it's almost like a dessert. And oats and oat milk together for me are like a dessert.
Wow.
And it's a dessert that helps me lose weight and keeps my blood pressure down, so I cannot get enough of oats.
Great.
Love oats. So maybe a little bit of fruit in the afternoon, and then dinner is our meal. So some of the dinners that I've really been enjoying lately, these are all Chef AJ heavy meals, by the way.
Thank you.
Our number one favorite meal by far is the red lentil chili.
Me too. And you figured out how to make it work in the Instant Pot. Now, do you do the cooking or does Claire?
I do the cooking for the pressure cooking recipes. I do them. I've always enjoyed cooking, and so yeah, it's usually me. So the red lentil chili is our very favorite. Just with faux parm in a cup. or over a potato. It's really good over vegetables. I've had it over steamed broccoli. It's outstanding. We also really enjoy the split pea soup, and the reason we really enjoy these hearty, rich recipes like the stews and the chilies and the soups is because we'll do a batch in the pressure cooker, and it's at least a week, and sometimes we end up having to throw out the end because we didn't get to finish it. So it lasts such a long time that you cook it once. First of all, it only takes 10 minutes to cook it in the first place, and once it's made, it's just in the fridge and you're heating it up. So if we have a batch of the split pea soup, for example, one day I did that over a potato waffle, which if you're not in on that craze, is basically.
They got to get in the potato waffle club.
Absolutely, you get a cheap waffle maker, get some Yukon Golds, and microwave them, and then smash it in the waffle maker till it's brown, and you're done.
The person that invented it is Sandy. I don't know if you pronounce her last name Plus or Plus. It's Pluss with 2 dots over the U. She's in Australia. She has the blog Vegans Eat Yummy Food, and boy, finding that blog post was just. I mean, we're having so much fun. We make them every day.
They're fantastic. So, we'll have the soup over a potato one day or over the broccoli another day or just in a cup another day. And also, when I'm talking about grazing, I'll usually open up the red lentil chili or the split pea soup and sort of eat that right out of the container with a tablespoon.
Exactly.
So,
well, I think I've solved your problem when you have too much. Offer some to some of your neighbors,
We absolutely.
Get them on board. Well, going back to that one question, we're almost out of time, but if you could make one recommendation, the key to your success, I've been thinking about that while we were talking. And one of the things I was thinking about is you see so many people that lose weight and gain it back. And one of the things I would say to people that are wanting to lose weight, of course, I would encourage them to do it the way that we did it, which is with a low-fat, whole-food, plant-based diet with little or no sugar, oil, salt, and definitely no oil, is that if you don't continue doing what you did when you lost weight, you're going to gain it back. And one of the reasons I think that so many of these programs like Jenny Craig and Weight Watchers and low carb, all the variations don't work is because they're not sustainable. And while you will lose weight in the short run, you'll harm your health in the long run. But more than that, the way you and me lost weight, we were eating lots of delicious food that we loved, and we're still eating it. So we didn't change anything. We're doing the same thing.
We didn't go on a diet. We changed our diet. And that's a very important distinction that I think I've had friends and family members say, well, how long are you planning to do this? And my answer to that is, well, I'm healthy now. My blood pressure's down. My cholesterol's down. I've lost all of this weight. Why in the world would I ever think to change that back? Why would I want to become unhealthy again?
I get man, I swear, you and me are two. No wonder I love you. We're 2 peas in a pod. So tell everybody how they can get in touch with you.
Okay, I will do that. I want to ask you a quick question. I know I'm mindful of the time. Real quick. My mother had a question for you.
Oh, okay, great.
And says, how many of your cookbooks have been published, and which others do you recommend that I purchase first?
Great question. Okay, so just right now, just unprocessed, but lots of other recipes that aren't in unprocessed on my website. So for people that want to eat a whole food plant-based diet without oil, McDougall has about 3,000 recipes out there. Almost all of them I think all of them are free on his website, drmcdougall.com. Lindsay Nixon has 4 happy herbivore books that all are consistent with this way of eating. I love 2 of the blogs out there. One is Katie May, Plant-Based Katie, and one is Straight Up Food. Kathy Fisher and Katie May are instructors at True North. So in addition to being whole food plant-based, they'll also be completely free of sugar, oil, and salt, as will the book Bravo by Ramses Bravo. So these are books that I use and I love. But to tell you the truth, I'm at the point where I can take almost any book and modify it. There's a book by Robin Robertson called 1001 Vegan Recipes, and I can pretty much take any of her recipes and just don't do the oil and the sugar and the salt. Oh, Jill Nussenow has some great cookbooks, especially for pressure cooking, and one of my favorite books for pressure cooking is Lorna Sass's Great Vegetarian Cooking Under Pressure. She's, I believe, the only vegetarian or vegan cookbook that actually won a James Beard Award. So I don't think the problem is just the lack of recipes. I mean, there are so many delicious recipes out there and more being created every day.
Very good. Well, thank you for that. I'm sure my mom will appreciate that answer.
Thanks.
Let me answer your question about how people can find me.
Right. How can people find you?
The two best places to find me are my blog site is Whole Food, not foods like the grocery, but Whole Food Plant-Based.info. So www.wholefoodplantbased.info. And I'm maintaining a Facebook group now, which is coming up on 2,500 fans, which is very exciting. We're starting small, but has had a great start. If you go to Facebook and just search for Whole Food Plant-Based Eating, or you can go to facebook.com/Whole Food Plant-Based Eating. And we would love for you to join us on the Facebook page. Not only do I share posts that we see from other people in the movement that have great graphics and fantastic videos, also some personal stuff. I did a before and after picture of myself, and I know that Claire and I will be posting some great plant-based meals that we're going to have in Orlando this coming week that we're excited about. The chefs really take care of you at Disney, by the way. If you tell them you're vegan, the chef will come out and see what exactly it is that you eat and don't eat, and will make you a delicious meal.
Yeah, they don't Mickey Mouse.
They don't Mickey Mouse
do
around. It's no Mickey Mouse operation down there. But that's the best way to find me. We would love for anyone to join us on the blog, join us on the Facebook page, and stay in touch. And you may hear more from me on this topic somewhere else in the media in the next year. You never know.
Well, that would be incredible. I just think you've inspired so many people, because I just want people to know that, maybe you and me are, we're nice people, but I don't think we're necessarily extraordinary people, that they can do this. That's really want people to know, is they can do this.
Absolutely. Anyone can do this. You can do anything you set your mind to. If you decide to do it, you do it, and that's it. And everyone needs support, you find the support, and once you've made the decision that you're done doing something that you're through with, and that you're ready to turn the page, have a new day, it's totally within your control. And come on over. The water is fine. The swimming pool water is fine. And come join those of us that have discovered what you have known for years, and I have only known for 15 months.
Yeah. So tell me, what is next for the Nouveau Thin Benji Kurtz?
What's next?
Yep. What is the next chapter?
I don't know. We'll have to see. The concept of writing a book has been brought to me several times, so we're definitely looking into that. I've been having some great discussions with other people in the plant-based movement about how we can maybe get some more, whether that be books or other kind of items about what we do, and try to reach the masses and tell my story and tell other people's stories. So I think hopefully within the next few months we'll have some announcements about whether it be my book or other people's books that I'm involved with coming real soon.
Well, it's been just an absolute delight having you on the call. You're so inspiring, and I thank you for your time. And those of you listening, thank you for listening. I'm Chef AJ at www.eatunprocessed.com. We'll be doing these free teleclasses every Thursday night at 6 p.m. Pacific Time, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. And next week, we're going to be talking about how to eat healthfully when you travel, a topic that keeps coming up. And I'm hoping that my guest will be the nutritional fitness guru, John Pierre. Thank you again so much, Benji Kurtz.
Thank you for having me. It was fantastic. I enjoyed it.
Thank you. And everybody out there, keep eating your vegetables and your starch. Take care, everybody. Good night.